morning and welcome to the Saturday Morning CEO and Economan radio show. Thanks to technical difficulties, we're joining the show already in progress.
Where they came from, how they got attracted there, and where they need to advertise to get more of those same kind of customers coming in. So that's the topic that I wanted to cover this morning. And here's a couple of ideas for you, and then I'll open up the line here too. Gary, can you hear us there? We're going to see if we can hear you. Let's see, I don't hear you yet. How about now?
I can hear you.
Hey, there we go. I pushed the right button. How's that? Excellent. Well, here's some ideas. One is to build, and this is an article by the Action Coach, a little 11 ways to double your customer base in 4 weeks. That kind of sounds like an exciting thing to be able to do. The first is to build a loyalty ladder to create raving fans. And I'll tell you who does that is a place you like to go, my friend, is Mr. Starbucks.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Starbucks.
There you go. Do you have one of their cards that you have to be like a secret member and buy lots of stuff and then you get all kinds of free things?
No, because I don't fit that demographics.
Oh, I see.
That's like the secret shopper membership.
It's what it is. It's a special club. So that is one tip. The other is to create a referral program. This is especially good for insurance agents and car dealers, car salespeople. Is giving some kind of a discount or a rebate or a thank you card in the mail with a little gift card, whatever it may be, for referrals. So that's another way to increase your client base. But you need to keep track of these folks. I'm going to make mention today Michael Gerber, who is a friend of both Gary's and mine. At least Michael doesn't know it, but we read his books. And he talks about the importance of us knowing where our customers come from. Would you like to pipe in on this topic at all, Gary, so I can stop flapping my lips?
Well, yeah, actually I would. And from a slightly different angle, but the exact same topic, guys. Okay. The thing that I see that businesses don't often pay attention to is what causes sales. In most businesses, there's one or two things where if you did more of that one or two thing, you actually create sales. So I am constantly encouraging businesses to figure out what's that one thing and how do we do more of that one thing that causes people to walk in the door or pick up the phone or place an order.
That's a great, in fact, as you were saying it, I was having a recall moment sitting in my office when you were consulting with me. What is that one thing? Mm-hmm. And I think that's important, very, very important for people to understand. In fact, you know what? I'm going to open my little browser here in case anybody wants to email us. They can ask some questions, and they can ask questions of myself or Gary. You'll email your questions to question@SaturdayMorningRadio.com. I'm going to open that browser window and see if we get some questions here on the air too. So what do you find are the answers to that question with most of the clients that you talk to?
It's different for different businesses. Okay. And just to connect the dots with what you were saying a little while ago, one of the reasons you ask everyone who calls or everyone who walks into your place of business how they got there is that may help you identify what causes sales. For some businesses, it's how many flyers I have hung on doorknobs this last weekend. For some businesses, it may be how many radio ad spots. For others, it may be how many feet on the street in terms of salespeople or sales reps, or how many catalogs I've published, how much traffic to my website. Every business is a bit different.
I think that leads right into another comment that I'd like to make is that we tend to forget about our staff that are at the cash register and giving them some expectations on what their job is to collect some of that information when somebody's walking in to buy something. How'd you hear about us? What is your system for recording that information too?
Mm-hmm. You bet.
So that's something that if you're out there listening and you're thinking of starting a business or you have one that you're trying to grow, then you need to wonder where you're capturing your people. I'll tell you who has an awesome way of doing that, and that is Sam's Club and Costco. By the fact that they are a membership club, they know the zip code of where everybody is, and on your card, they know what you purchase. So all that is stored in a database. When they get ready to open a new store, they can look and see how many people live in each zip code and be able to tell whether they're going to hurt one of their existing stores or not, or whether there's enough to support a new store.
Mm-hmm.
So demographics are very important to big business, and even more important, but least often applied to smaller business. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I'll give you a real quick example, guys. A few years ago, I was working with a business who figured out, by asking that exact question that you were talking about, he figured out that 2/3 of his business were coming from radio spots.
That's good for us to hear.
He shifted and reallocated much of his marketing money to radio spots. And I have sat in his office before talking with him, and all of a sudden, all 11 lines of the phone lit up, and he'd very, very casually say, "Oh, one of my radio spots must be on right now."
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah, and being able to have your finger on the pulse like that is very, very important. So we brought you on way early, which I appreciate you calling in early. We're going to have you on a little bit longer, too. But I still want to continue more on this topic. And then you and I had talked on the phone the other day. After we take our break in about 8 minutes or so here, then we want to come back and talk a little bit more about what industries are doing well in this economy. Others can learn how to tap into that. We've got another tip here from this same book, is to convert a single customer into multiple purchases or multiple customers. So this is, in the sales world, it's called an add-on sale. And obviously, most of us are familiar with that, at least at a fast food establishment. Would you like a hot apple pie with that, or whatever it may be? But do we do something similar in our business? And what is that add-on sale? So that can increase our profits there too. So that's another tip. Another is to train. We just talked about this one actually. Train and support employees to improve their skills in gathering this information and in offering that the add-on sale. I know all the time whenever I buy brake pads for my car, they're trying to sell me the anti-squeak stuff and whatever else may be the item of the day that they're trying to push. Years ago, I was a waiter at a fancy restaurant, and we had a little board in the back that had the items that we were to push for the day, and there were a lot of little add-on things that they wanted us to push. And if you train your employees well, then you can increase your sales and improve your customer service too if they're trained properly. So, Dewey, have you noticed as you've gone in to purchase anything at a store, do you feel offended if they ask you if you're interested in something else, or do you feel that they're paying attention to you, or have you even noticed it?
Well, that's a good question, but that depends on whether I bring my wife or my children.
Okay.
They're definitely targeting them for the add-on sales, especially during the holidays. And, of course, my children are traditional. They like to go right to the toy section and whatnot. But, no, I haven't. I'm not really a shopper, and I usually do online most of the time.
That's good. I've actually seen online some websites that will push you to a new page and ask you if you would also like this particular package or some other related thing. Even Amazon does that. When you go to purchase a book, it'll have a list at the bottom. People that purchased this book also purchased these books down here. So it's potential for increasing your revenue there. Another tip from this article here is to make sure that you're tracking your Gary, you talked about radio advertising, and obviously there's newspaper and TV and everything else. It's important for you to somehow track that. Now, on mailings for many years, they would have people mention a certain code to get a discount. That code might have real meaning as far as maybe the location they came from or some other demographic that was used when the mailing was put together. The same thing can happen online. You can send people to a website. If your website is website.com, then you're running a certain special. You might send them to website.com/special42, and that brings them to a separate page, and you track then where you advertised number 42, and then you'll know where your people are coming from. So it's a little bit of statistical stuff, but it's not difficult to do, and it's not time-consuming. But would you agree, Gary, that most small businesses, under $1 million a year, or under $5 million a year even, are losing money by not tracking this information?
Well, of course, because most small businesses will spend money wherever they think that they can on marketing, and yet don't really know which of those dollars are producing the results.
That's a common problem with that. So, and I want to stress again, I already mentioned it, but is referrals. People, if you shop somewhere, you do like to tell other people about it. So the barber shop I go to, somebody says, hey, where do you get your hair cut? Somebody else moves in the area. Well, I'm not going to tell them, hey, there's 4 or 5 different places here. Let me give you a printout of all of them and let you choose. I'm going to say, hey, you need to go over and talk to Mark over at the barbershop, that I go to. So, we're happy to tell people about maybe our real estate agent or, somebody's really taking care of us with I referred our tax guy, I don't know, probably a couple hundred times because he's done such a great job for me. So to ask people for referrals, a lot of people are afraid to because they feel like it's pushy. But if it's done in the right way, in a friendly manner, then that can help increase your sales quite a bit. So we are. I wanted to, we're missing our fitness tip for the day. I got to give Paul a hard time. I just did my big heavy workout with him yesterday, and he said, I promise I'll call and give you a fitness tip. So I'm going to give you one. How's that sound? Can I do that? I don't need your permission, I know, Dewey. But I'm going to do it anyway. Let's play the music, and I'll give you my fitness tip. So my fitness tip is to take a spin class. I have been taking a spin class over at Elevate Fitness in Menifee from Amy. And talk about customer service. Boy, I'll tell you, she hands gum out to those who want it, and at the end has a little cooler that's full of almost frozen wet towels that have, I got to get the recipe from her. I think it's just water and rubbing alcohol or something, but boy, I feel like I'm at the Taj Mahal when I'm done with that class. I think I sweat about 2 buckets full of sweat, though. And it is a fun class, and I've definitely enjoyed doing that. So the fitness tip today is to take a spin class. And if you can't get in on a schedule, then look online. Here's a tip for you. I found a couple places online that you can download a little audio file of somebody going through the spin class for you, and put your headsets on and go somewhere and just make it happen. So I think that's important for us to get our exercise every day and keep ourselves healthy and fit. Keeps us alert and helps us think about things like tracking demographics, for instance. Does that sound like fun? You want to take a spin class with me, Dewey?
Well, my head's already spinning, but I'll say no on that one.
I think you burn calories when your head's spinning too, so you're probably okay. So, hey, you made jokes about me eating. Oh, hey, our guest is spinning over there in his chair. Very good. Thank you, Gary. So, hey, we have 10 seconds left. I'm going to take another bite of my oatmeal. We're going to go to a commercial, and then we're going to come right back with Gary Lockwood. Thank you very much. Here we go.
Your fairy godmother?
Cinderella's dream comes true because the glass slipper fits.
It fits.
In our world, the right fit can be just as important, especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose a car seat that's the right fit for your child's age and size to make sure your little pumpkin gets there safely every time.
Hop in, dear. Thank you.
For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. This message has been brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Chris, can you put the video game controller down for a second?
I can talk and play. Oh, I'm totally annihilating this punk kid in Nebraska.
I just feel like you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
Well, you still ride your skateboard to work, there's the comic book collection, the race car bed.
Look, I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I picked up a few savings tips at feedthepig.org. I have control over my financial life now, and that feels pretty grown up.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. For free ideas and easy tips on ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
So, I bet I look like a grown-up to you now.
Well, except for the footy pajamas, I'd have to agree.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Good morning, and welcome back to the Saturday Morning CEO and Economan radio show. You are here live. Oh, I don't know. Maybe you're listening to an archive. But if you are, you don't hear me right now. How about now? Can you hear me now? Oh, never mind. Okay, we're live with Gary Lockwood, who is our guest. And I've just got to do a little build-up here. I don't have a drum roll. I got to put a drum roll in the Boeing box over here. But Gary has been a very good friend and coach of mine. He's been a personal coach. I've been a member of Vistage with him. Yeah, he has been our chair for Vistage. Just to give you a little idea, Vistage is a pretty exclusive club. You have to own or be running or in an executive level position of at least $1 million a year company, and it's quite expensive, but has 10 times the value of the cost to join. A group of about 17 of us would come together and help solve each other's problems, and that's what we were there for. So great group. I have loved every minute of being around Gary, and we haven't quite picked curtains out together, but I really enjoy the time that I get to spend with him, and he has definitely helped me to refocus in my business, and I've seen incredible growth because of his advice and sometimes just getting me to listen to myself. So welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Dennis. Good morning, Dewey.
Hey, good morning, Gary.
So we wanted to talk a little bit. Our guests, our guests. Well, our listeners are our guests. We feel like you're at home when you're listening to the radio here. But our listeners are made up of, we talked about demographics earlier. Most of our listeners either own businesses right now, or they may be in a situation where they're about to become an entrepreneur against their will. They've worked somewhere for a long time and haven't had a job offer lately, and they're considering maybe dipping into if there's anything left in their 401k and start, who knows, a franchise or some other kind of business. So that's the topic of our show is business and how do we get things to grow. So it doesn't matter if you're running a multi-million-dollar company or a brand new lawn service. You are the CEO of that company. So Gary, what are some of the most important tasks that you can think of for CEOs to worry about, be concerned about?
There's actually a surprisingly small list of things that are the high leverage task for CEOs. One of the big ones, of course, is strategy. Where do you hold your bucket under which cloud in order to create a healthy business for the next several years? So strategy, visioning, looking ahead for the business is one of the key ones. And one that I see that a lot of CEOs don't really spend a lot of time on is developing the team.
I've got a question for you, Gary. When you start looking at organizational structures, there's a hierarchical structure, but it seems like based on John Carter, he's a Harvard business guy, and he's really big on networks, and he has a hub of leaders that are strategically guiding the firm, but it kind of reaches out like tentacles to other people. And it's more of a network base, and everything centers around that sense of urgency to lead an organization. So when we talk about strategic management, whether it's a sole proprietor, whether it's a corporation, small business, can you give us some insight about the structure and the flexibility and mobility to make decisions?
For small businesses, there needs to be one person who is the determiner of strategy. And then we need implementers who are smart enough, skilled enough, experienced enough to make the smaller decisions along the way, implementing and executing toward the path that the CEO or owner has set out. And the implementer, which is typically the senior management team, or at least a few key people, the implementers are often in very short supply in small businesses. So guess who gets to implement their own strategy?
Dennis?
Yeah, that's right. In my case, it's Dennis. Whatever, fill in your first name. Absolutely. Now, one thing Dewey brought up that I know, Gary, I think you even have a term for it, if I recall from some of our consulting times, is your expert team or your support team. Your outreach of folks that are networked with. If you need to write a contract, then you've got to have an attorney that you trust and that already knows you. You don't want to be walking in cold and say, hey, here's a situation I've got going. Same with other areas. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of having some kind of an expert team?
Of course. Just like I said earlier, that one of the key functions of a CEO is to develop the talent in their company. The corollary to that is to develop an external team. The banker, the law firm, the CPA firm, the business coach, and so on, and your peer advisory group for those who are involved in that. The external team can be every bit as important to the internal team, so that you have talent and expertise available to you when the time comes, and you don't necessarily have to have all that on your payroll.
Oh, that's a good point. And your support team doesn't have to be on a retainer either. These are people that you just that know them, and when you're ready to do something together with them, then you make the transaction happen.
Right.
But I think that is definitely a key. So I want to change the topic here, kind of midstream. We've got about 10 minutes left with you here, Gary, and I wanted to cover that in this economy. It's kind of a tough time to figure out what you want to do. So a lot of our listeners are saying, "What should I do?" I love running a video store, but maybe right now in this climate with video stores closing everywhere, even though you have a passion for it, may not be the thing to do. So what do you think people should look at when they are looking at what industry to start a business in this kind of economy?
Well, from the one thing that I would encourage any startup to do is to do a little research into history.
Okay.
Unfortunately, while we're experiencing this very uncertain economy we're dealing with right now, that we are likely to have in the next 5 or 6 years another 1 or 2 recessionary periods.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not serious, but the economy's not growing wildly right now. It may be a while, or if ever, for us to get back to 04, 05, 06, and so on. So basically, I would do a little research in history, looking back over the last 4 or 5 recessions. What types of businesses seem to do well during weak or uncertain economies? I'll give you an example. From my research, the pet business, pet care, pet food, anything having to do with taking care of pets. It turns out, from my research, that no matter what the economy's doing, people will look after their pets.
That's true, Gary. In fact, I've done the same research. I went to in San Diego a year or so ago to write an article on what industries are doing good in this economy. I went to a promotional items event. So we had all kinds of vendors there that sell promotional items, and I interviewed a lot of them. And you don't have to be in the pet industry to benefit from that knowledge that you just gave them. A plastics company that I interviewed while I was there as one of the attendees that normally made little pill boxes and other things took advantage of it by making little dog bone-shaped pill boxes for the animals. And so they found a way to dip into that industry that's still doing well. So I think that's important to use your creative mind to try to get into an industry that is growing in the economy.
Well, sure. And as you said, you don't have to be directly in the business. For example, you don't have to be creating pet products. You might provide services for the company that is creating pet products. So as long as they're doing well, you can do well.
Exactly. That's a perfect tip for, say, an insurance salesman or some business brokerage firm, for them to try to provide their services and make that their niche market, while the economy is down.
Sure. My research has shown over the last 4 or 5 recessionary periods that medical related businesses tend to be recession resistant. Alternative energy in the last 3-4 decades seem to have sailed through most recessionary times. Private education.
Right.
Interestingly enough, as people are trying to learn new skills to try to get a different type of a job, seems to do well in recessionary times.
And trying to figure out how you can tap into that is very important. So,
and again, you don't have to be directly in the business. You may provide products or services for companies who are in those recession-resistant businesses. So one thing that a prospective startup might do is go to the website for the Department of Commerce and look at some of the statistical information of businesses going back the last 50 years or so, and look to see which ones seem to have weathered economic ups and downs better than others.
Yeah, that's an excellent tip for our listeners. And I want to move into a little bit of advice for people in regards to that expert team. One of those expert members is their coach. Just as I use a fitness coach, you, my friend, whether you like it or not, are stuck with me forever as my coach. You'll have to shake me off because I've learned so much from you. And you are my secret support to success. And it is great to be able to, even just sometimes on the phone while we're probably both really busy and in the car on a cell, just to throw some ideas back and forth can be worth quite a bit of money to me in the future. So can you tell us a little bit about how do you feel inside when you're coaching somebody? You see the lights come on in their eyes and they get it, and then you see them succeed because they did it, and let people know how they could contact a coach or yourself. I don't know if you're taking any new clients or looking for any new Vistage members, but if you're willing to share your information, please do.
I'm happy to share information. And to the answer to your question, I feed on the success of my clients. I love it, and I really enjoy seeing that light of recognition in their eyes. And there's nothing magical I do for my clients. And I mean, this is probably not the wrong thing to say on radio, but
and you shouldn't have said it in front of me because I thought you were magical. So
the fact is, my role is helping a CEO or a business owner to get perspective. It has a lot to do with peripheral vision. If you and I are talking, I can see that picture on the wall behind you. You can't see it. Together, we have a better perspective.
Great visual explanation there. I like that. And that's very true. And you have helped me in many ways to look at the future of my business, too, and to kind of place myself there and see what it looks like and smells like and feels like. and that has helped to focus me a little bit more. So, what is the best way for people to make contact with you? And go ahead and give it. You can give out your information here, and feel free to share email or phone number or bank account numbers, credit card numbers, anything like that.
The easiest way to contact me, and I really don't have much room for new clients right now, but I have quite a large network of people who do what I do, and I'm happy to refer some of your listeners off to people who could be a good fit for them. And the best way to reach me is either by email or phone call. The phone is 951-739-7444. My email is Gary@bizsuccess.com. That's BIZSUCCESS.com.
Excellent. And you are also on Facebook and LinkedIn, and people can just follow you, too, if they don't want to bother you necessarily. If they're running $1 million
just look
a
me
year.
Up, Gary Lockwood on either Facebook or LinkedIn, and I once or twice a week I'll usually post a note or some bit of insight that we have picked up from clients during the week. So that's I've had a lot of folks tell me they've enjoyed following those.
Excellent. Could we twist your arm maybe, and we'd love to get maybe a little 2-minute tip from you every week, and we'll come up with some fancy intro music for you, and have you virtually on our show every week with a little 2-minute tip. Would you be interested in doing that for us?
I bet we can do that.
You are awesome. I'm telling you. And you're such a good-looking guy. They can't see you on radio, but we're looking at you, and boy, we are impressed. So thank you very much for being on the show. We are going to go to break here in just about a minute. In about 40 seconds that we've got left, what nugget could you leave with our listeners?
The best nugget is, if you're not in business for yourself, get in business for yourself. I strongly salute the entrepreneurial spirit, and to me, this is the way forward.
I agree with you, and I am so glad to have you on on my team. I really am. And
thanks for having me this morning, Dennis and Dewey. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed it.
Good. Well, send us a picture, too. We've got our picture thing set up, and you might have heard us talking about our star rating system on the website now, and you can send your folks over to listen to you on the archive of the show. So thank you, Gary. We're going to go to break.
Thank you, Gary.
We appreciate you being here.
You bet. Enjoy your day, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
For the California Dental Association, Christy Yamaguchi.
As an Olympian and daughter of a dentist, I know the importance of having healthy teeth and a bright, healthy smile. Tooth decay is the #1 childhood disease, more than asthma and obesity. That's why a new state law requires that kindergartners receive a dental checkup. So parents, prepare your children for school. Take your child to see a dentist. It'll make you smile too.
For more information, call 800-CDA-SMILE.
Do you suffer from the heartbreak of brain rot, feeling bored, sluggish, listless, not had a new idea in days, using electronic gizmos without a clue why they work? Now there's help. Ham radio, guaranteed to stimulate your corroding neurons and open a whole new world of excitement. To learn more about ham radio, go to helloradio.org.
Side effects of ham radio usage include mental stimulation, desire for education, new career paths, understanding of technology, and cases of addiction have been reported. If you experience any of these symptoms, you're welcome.
Ham radio. It's not your granddaddy's radio anymore.
They were outnumbered, out-equipped. They had no chance of winning, but they had one huge advantage: General George Washington.
The fate of unborn millions will now depend, under God, on the courage and conduct of this army. We have to resolve to conquer or die.
Just as the leadership of one man helped form a nation, today leadership can transform the world. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
It's like FM without the commercials. It's like XM without the quality. It's AM 1620, the Eagle Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Saturday Morning CEO and Economan energy-filled radio show.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Oh, what's the music?
So, hey, hey, what's going on there? Trying to blow out my eardrums?
I think that's what happened there.
What? Okay, we won't go there.
All right. Hey, what have you got for us today, Dewey?
Hey, I thought we would look at what's in the news and what in an economy that's usually rising, what do you look for regarding sales and business and whatnot? So when the economy's up, coffee sales usually climb. It's often the first luxury to go when times are tough, but espressos and lattes return vengeance and good times.
They incline or decline? I didn't hear you.
Oh, they decline.
They decline.
But they're quick to come back in a flurry. Hey, people spend money on luxury items like antique furniture, garden, landscapers, and luggage as they stay caution and become vacationers as well. So that's usually up during the economy. Clothes are cleaner with dry cleaning frequency roughly doubling. I didn't know that. Clothing and cleaners are usually up when the economy is on the rise.
Okay, that makes sense.
You talk about auto repairs. Auto repairs go up as people can withstand high petrol prices and drive more. So generally that's a good indication that the economy is doing well. Here's one that we usually don't think about. Do you go out to eat a lot, Dennis?
Just occasionally. I'm trying to be good, and if my trainer Paul's listening, I did eat oatmeal this morning, not a donut.
Oh, very good, very good.
But I do occasionally go out to eat.
Well, hey, next time you're out in the restaurant, check out the garbage. No. The garbage outside restaurants piles up. More Patreons equals more rubbish.
Have you been watching me?
Yes, I have. So, hey, what indicators have you seen that clue you up on where the economy's headed? So we're talking about demographics. Gary did a wonderful job putting things into perspective for us. But what are some indicators in the economy do you think that would give thumbs up?
I think that definitely the vacationing thing was one. People talking about going on vacation or if you're at work and everybody's saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to take a vacation. Oh, where are you going? Oh, we're just going to stick around the house this time. And then you have a clue that maybe the money's not there to go do something. I actually have an indicator for you that just popped into my head, too, when I did that article on what industries are doing well or not. There is a shift from air travel to camping. So I met a representative from Coleman that handles their promotional items. So, you can buy coolers with your company name on it or whatever it may be. And he has been suggesting to his companies that instead of buying luggage tags, perhaps they should be buying something like a lantern with their name on it or flashlights, because a lot more people are Coleman's growth during this economic decline has grown by double figures.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I like putting your names on the flashlights and the coolers because that'll decrease the demand for lost and found.
There you go.
Hey, here's another thing about, we talked about things that are indicating the economy's up, but here's one that is indicated when the economy's down. More missing pets. We talked about pets, and as you know, households that have pets love their pets, and they take care of them. It's one of the Teflon industries that we have. But here you go. Stapled on telephone poles, posted on local coffee shop, tucked under wiper blades. Those missing spike flyers may be spotted more often in this economy. I was wondering about those.
I have a personal experience with that.
Well,
you want to hear it or not?
No, let me finish this right quick.
Okay.
Hey, in the first 7 months of 2011, 224 pets were reported stolen.
Wow.
Reported stolen.
Yep.
Compared with 150 pets in the same period in 2010. And for the first time, theft from adoption events and shelters has become a trend.
That is very true.
So the here's the deal. The pets may be resold for profit, held for ransom, reward money, or kept by thieves who don't want to pay the purchase price or adoption fee for a pet. So the furry or scaly, slimy, feathery friends can be quite pricey. I can't imagine holding a pet for $1 million.
Yeah, it depends.
Ransom.
I guess, what neighborhood you live in.
But here's the whole point of the downtime is that they're all linked to financial issues. So there seems to be a high number of thefts as it goes up as the economy goes down.
We had an Italian bulldog that disappeared that we are pretty certain got stolen. And we live in a area of custom homes that each have about 3 to 5, 6 acres. And we have on a couple occasions, I actually have the business card of the animal control guy, and I know him by first name because people will drop off their animals thinking that, oh, they have property, they'll take good care of them. And we've had dogs show up on our front lawn. Well, we don't have a lawn. My wife's listening. She'll remind me that we want one. But we have a huge area in the front of our property that a couple very friendly dogs that we were considering maybe keeping around came, and they just made themselves at home. The very lovely dogs that were somebody's pet. They weren't strays. They had been taken good care of. So many have been dropped off, I'm sure, with teary-eyed owners not knowing what else to do, but they drop them off because they don't have the money to take care of them anymore.
So market adoption.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't they have like their names or their license or name tags?
They snip those off first. Yeah, if they don't want them to be found because they don't want them back. They can't afford it. They're either moving in with parents that maybe, or they're renting a place that they can't afford to pay the pet deposit.
So that's an indication that they were actually dropped off then.
Yes. Yep. And a lot of them have good collars on them. They're not all dirty. They're well fed, and so we can tell they've been dropped off.
Okay, very good. Well, hey, let's go to the economy, Dennis. What do you say about that?
Let's go there because it's coming to us.
It's coming. The economy expands by a whopping 2.7%, but recovery is still weak. Just to let you know, before we close out this year, our GDP, gross domestic product, has risen an average of 2% per quarter. So what's leading the way? What do you think drives the economic engine here, Dennis?
I would have to say people buying things and getting paid stuff.
Oh, that's good stuff. So how is the 2.7% growth reached? Well, here's some contributing factors. One, about 1% of that 2.7% were consumer spending. The biggest driver of the economy, consumer spending, remains weak. Growth has slowed for 2 straight quarters. The next is changed in business inventories. This is right down your alley.
Yes.
A big chunk of the economy's growth was simply business accumulating inventory, potentially a bad sign for the fourth quarter since it means business may not need to produce as many goods. So as you know, businesses will cut back production, cut back work, and simply live off their inventories. Residential investment, the biggest spot in housing, which has contributed to the economy's growth for 6 straight quarters now. So that's good news for homeowners.
Yeah.
Or people who are wanting to buy. Here's our exports. Exports contributed little to the economy growth, about 0.1% compared to 5.3% in the second quarter. Federal spending, mostly on defense, surged after a slowdown early in the year. Economists say the surge will prove temporary. So that's pretty much the drivers of our 2.7 growth. Again, residential investment, change in inventories could go either way, but once again, the consumer spending is leading the charge here. However, consumer spending is down by 0.2%.
Yeah.
So much for the Black Friday and Cyberspace Monday.
Maybe it's just a gray Friday this year.
Well, I don't know. It could be. Hopefully sales will perk up first of the year, but don't count on it. Businesses are probably going to blow out the inventories first of the year. And as you know, we're facing a fiscal cliff, but it's more like a fiscal slope.
Oh, now why do you say that?
Well, because the percent changes in the taxes and government spending isn't. They're important, but it's really more of a political issue, not so much as going to have a devastating impact on the economy. So, for example, potential building blocks for revenue-raising deal over 10 years. And I got to remember, when you hear this news in the media, it's over a 10-year period. It's not going to happen immediately. So it's stretched over 10 years. Here's one proposal that Obama's budget is trying to get at. The idea here is to increase $1.6 trillion in revenue. Allow top two rates to rise to 36% to 39.6%. So that would be the top of the marginal tax rate. So we all know that you can pay 40% more on every additional dollar you earn after $200,000, right, Dennis?
Yes.
Also, raise taxes on estate and gifts. That's supposed to be bringing in about $143 billion. Raise the top two rates by 1 percentage point, then that's going to bring in $115 billion. And then you raise just the top rate by 1 percentage point. There's another $84 billion. But here's what's going to really not be too good for charitable contributions. They're thinking about capping total deductions at $25,000.
At $25,000?
And capping deductions $35,000, exempting charitable contributions. So that is not very good at all. When you take your deduction into consideration, the average person can deduct $10,000 in mortgage interest. State and income tax is around $7,000. Charitable contributions around $4,000, and real estate tax is around $4,000. So capping the total deductions would be at $25,000. The government thinks that it can bring in about $185 billion as a result.
Well, here's the
That's not good for me.
No, the backfire on that I can see is many of these nonprofits are actually helping to support folks that are not on government welfare and other programs. They're getting support from these places. So if the tax write-offs are capped and deductions aren't allowed for these donations to these nonprofits, they're not going to be able to serve the public. And that's going to increase the need for people to be on government welfare.
Oh, I agree. That's why charities are fighting and for to keep deductions for donors. Here's an interesting statistic: about a third of the tax filers itemize, and more than 80% of those claim charitable deductions. So that's a very good point.
I think it would be a huge increase in expense.
Well, and then you're taking away the incentive for the charitable deduction as well. So if I know that interest mortgage deduction is big, and I personally believe that we should keep that as an incentive for home ownership. If you start taking that away, then that's going to affect the ability to and the willingness to be a homeowner, will it not?
Yeah, I agree with you. There's got to be some motivation there.
So that'll be interesting see how that happens. But the way that things are going is looks like Obama is wanting to come up with some sort of major tax reform by August. Stop yawning. This isn't as boring as it appears to be. By August 2011. So we have some time.
That's a good thing. I think I was yawning from the warm oatmeal, by the way.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer. So looks like if Congress and the president takes a do-nothing approach, and it will be somewhat painful, but that pain's stretched over a 10-year period. But they'll probably come to some sort of agreement before the year's end out. What do you think?
We will have to see. I am not guessing on that one.
Well,
I'm definitely not guessing.
How about approximation?
I'm going to think that they don't come up with a plan.
Okay, well, how much time do we have here? Oh, we got 7 minutes.
Do you have wacky indicators?
No, but I've got the sticking with the top 50 economies by 2050.
Oh, let's do that. And then I just need about 3 or 4 minutes for the wacky business ideas.
Your business crazies. Okay, topping placeholder 47 is United Arab Emirates. Size of their economy is about $360 billion. Income per capita is $29,651. The United Arab Emirates will see relatively average growth over the coming 40 years, with its population expanding by 4 million and income per capita increasing by about 4,000. So by year 2050, they should be ranked the 47th of the economies that dominate.
Wow, very good. We should give them a hand, definitely, huh?
Next is Romania. By 2050, they should be ranked number 46 as being one of the dominant economies. Size of the economy is $377 billion. Income per capita is $20,357. Detail: wow. Romania, a large textile producer. I didn't know that. You know, Romania is a large textile producer?
I did not know that.
Well, your textiles could be coming from Romania more often.
Is that where all the text messages come from, too? Text?
Well,
oh, no, never mind.
It could be. Depends on what tile you're on. We'll see its economy expand nearly 10 times, averaging the income per capita growth of 5.7 over the 40-year period. Well, that's a pretty good growth rate, 5.7.
Yeah, 10 times is awesome.
So there you go. Romania is going to be 46th by 2050. Take it away, Business Crazy.
Sounds good. Let's listen to the crazy ideas in the business world. This one here, I'm sure you remember. This is from a while back, but this is definitely something that'll help to maybe bounce your brain into being more creative. Naval engineer Richard James invented, he was actually working, he was an engineer and was working with a tension spring that fell off his desk, and he watched it as it slinked across the floor. And his brain didn't say, oops, I dropped the spring, wasn't that cool. He said, this could become a toy. So he invented the Slinky just by having his brain open and listening to this little voice in his head that said, hey, here's a business idea for you. So in 1945, James debuted the toy at Gimbel's in Philadelphia. It says he was so nervous about the presentation that he convinced a friend to come and stage the first Slinky sale. So he had somebody come and pretend to buy it so that he wouldn't be so nervous. His nerves were completely unwarranted because the first 400 of those sold out within the first 90 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. $250 million in sales later, the $1 toy at the time was helped him to have a very comfortable living. In fact, just a personal thing on this article is I was at an event one time and met Mr. James's son, who is a partner in the business now, and there's another company that owns a lot of the shares. But we actually talked about the possibility of me writing the history of the Slinky book for them. So that's a possibility in the future. But it was very interesting I probably spent about an hour with him just chit-chatting about all the good and bad parts of the business growth with the Slinky. So I just want to share that idea. Not that you can recreate the Slinky as a business idea, but be alert to what's going on around you, and some idea might just pop in into your head, and you can turn it into a business. So always be aware of what's going on around you. Another is, have you heard of the Snuggie?
Yes, I have.
So there's a lot of infomercials on TV that are pushing the Snuggie, and you wonder how many are really being sold and what's going on. It's kind of excuse me. This article describes it as putting on a bathrobe backwards. Scott Boylan is the president of All Star Products, which came up with the Snuggie. And they decided to sell two for $19.95, and it kind of became a cult. In fact, there's some videos. If you search for Snuggie parodies on YouTube, you'll find all kinds of the cult culture out there. They've got about $10 million worth of infomercials that they ran, and all kinds of different opportunities, people wearing the Snuggie out by out by a fire outside, watching TV, all kinds of things. And they have sold a truckload of these. About 20 million have been sold.
Whoa.
Which, multiply that, divided by 2 and multiply it by 1995, not in that order, is about $200 million. I would be doing some Snuggie in that kind of money.
Those are some Snuggie sales.
Absolutely. So that idea of just taking a bathrobe, putting it on backwards, and feeling nice and warm turned into a big business for Scott. So thank you, Scott, for the Snuggie. I think that's a couple of ideas to share with you that are the loony business ideas to help jog your creativity to be thinking about what could be done, what is a need that people have, and how can you fill it. So thanks for joining us for the Looney Toony Crazy Business Ideas. And we are going to end our show here in a minute. Dewey, do you have any last words of advice or you want to make fun of me or anything like that before we get off the air?
Oh, no, I never do that. Anyway, Thank you, listeners, for coming out this morning, and you guys have a great weekend.
Hey, we'll see you next week. Stop on in or listen to the archives. Check out the star rating system on our website.